All right, I'm starting going live right now.
Good evening. I call to order the March 18th, 2021 Board of Commissioners regular session. In accordance with Section 3 of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, the clerk will note for the record that this meeting is being conducted remotely via Zoom pursuant to local declaration of emergency adopted by the Board of Commissioners on March 18th, 2020, and extended on October 15th, 2020. All members are attending remotely and with video activated. During the roll call, each member will indicate if they are currently located in Calhoun County, or if not, the county, city, or village or township in the state from which they are attending this meeting. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Commissioner Kathy Sue Petty.
Here.
Within Calhoun County?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Sorry,
No.
Susan. Yes, I am.
Okay. Commissioner Rochelle Hatcher.
Present, Battle Creek, Michigan, District 2.
Commissioner Jake Smith.
Present from the beautiful La Vista Boulevard in Battle Creek.
Commissioner Steve Frisbee.
Present from the city of Battle Creek.
Commissioner Derek King.
Present from Ceresco.
Commissioner Tommy Miller.
Present, Maringo.
And Commissioner Gary Tompkins.
Present, Homer Township.
We have quorum.
Okay, after a moment of silence, Commissioner Smith will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the March 18th, 2021 Board of Commissioners regular session agenda as presented?
So moved, Miller.
Support, Betty.
Support.
Miller and Betty, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Betty.
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins.
Yes.
Yep, 7 yes.
Motion carries. Can I have approval or a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Commissioners March 4th, 2021 regular session as presented?
So moved, Tompkins.
Support,
Support.
Smith.
Tompkins and Betty, any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Betty.
Yes.
I have 7 yes.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is citizens' time. During citizens' time, the board chair shall recognize any person wishing to address the board. A person recognized by the chair shall call in and state his or her name and community of residence. A person may address the board only once on the same matter during each period set aside for citizens' time on the agenda and only on matters that are relevant to county government. The chair shall control the length of each time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes, and shall not allow negative personal comments. Please mute your TV or computer when calling in, as the background sound will generate feedback. Please note there's an approximately 30-second delay between the live meeting and the YouTube feed. Are there any citizens that would like to address their commissioners? Are there any citizens that would like to address their commissioners? Nobody in the queue, Dane?
Nope, nobody in the queue as of yet.
Yeah. Is there anybody who would like to address their commissioners? All right, we'll move on. Elected and appointed county officials comments. Anybody like to make comments tonight? Nobody? Okay, we'll move on. Special order of business, a county-wide broadband initiative presentation and approvals. Turn it over to Kelly Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm excited to have two guest speakers here today. Lee Adams from the Upjohn Institute, who administers our region South Central Michigan Planning Council, and then also Mac McCullough from Willard Library in Battle Creek. They are going to do a brief presentation about the need for the county to really take a more formal leadership role with trying to come up with a solution to provide all of our residents with adequate broadband internet access. I think at this point in time, it's not going to be difficult to convince the commissioners that this is a huge priority and a huge need in our community. What we really want to do today is just have them give a brief overview of kind of the regional approach, and then also MAC represents a sort of a grassroots effort in Battle Creek called the Digital Equity Divide or Collaborative that has been, really brought this to my attention a few months ago. And then built into our special order of business, I would ask for your support in the form of a formal resolution that complies with the Metro Act that acknowledges that broadband internet access is really considered one of those infrastructure services that fits within that act and is an eligible service for counties to take the lead to provide. And then that would sort of give us the support that we need to move forward with next steps. And then the other two action items within are approval of us moving forward with the Merit Network, which is a membership-based organization that can provide the next step for us, which is to more formally measure and report back on what the gaps are in Calhoun County for internet services for our residents. And we will be able to use that study to seek out funding. I know you've probably heard about state and federal funding that just continues to increase for broadband initiatives. But in order to have the accurate information to seek that funding and move forward with next steps, which would be, once we know the gaps in service, what would it take to actually address them through a partnership with private internet providers. So we're asking you to, after we hear the presentation, the three items are asking for a support resolution, just having the board be on the record for allowing us to move forward with next steps, which includes engaging Merit to do the data collection survey. That study is fully funded by community partners. And then also just to look forward to the meeting in April, our April 13 Board of Commissioners meeting. We do anticipate asking the Board of Commissioners to commission a countywide broadband task force. And so that's why the presentation that you're about to see has that title and hopefully will lead up to the importance of the county being the best entity positioned to take that formal leadership role. So with that, I'll turn it over to Lee and Mac, and I'm not sure who's got the microphone first.
I'll go ahead and go first, and then I'll pass it on to Lee. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, commissioners, for inviting us. I will be brief. I'm here in Burley Corners in Penfield Township, and just a little bit of background about the time we were all shutting down and beginning to learn about the challenges of distance learning. As a librarian, I help a lot of people who rely on libraries for access to computers and internet, and I was really curious about what options they might have, and really began to dig into this thing that's called the digital divide, which is basically the divide between those who have that access and those who don't. Many of those folks who don't have access live in rural areas, where cable does not reach, and they're not affordable options. But there's also low-income communities, older adults, and historically marginalized communities where they lack the same tools to participate in today's economy and in life that many of others do. And Lee and I have been together now for, we've been working on this since last summer with a few other folks, just gathering information, learning about the divide, learning about what other communities have been doing to address it, which is where the idea for a countywide task force came from. But one of the first challenges that we realized was that if you look at an FCC map on coverage in Calhoun County, for example, I think that we're at something like 80%, which in my gut knows is wrong. And I've learned that because FCC data is based on census tract data, it's just not granular enough. And looking to Washtenaw County, for example, for their experience, they were listed by the FCC at 98% coverage. And after further looking at it, and with Merit, which Lee will go into in the next slide, found that they're about 36% covered. So we're really curious about what we can learn about Calhoun County, and I'll let Lee take the next slide.
Yeah, thanks, Mac. I'll try to keep brief because I know you guys are working through a lot today. And we don't really need to prove that this is a need, right? It's pretty obvious, and it's a need pretty much everywhere. So in terms of moving through a framework, we kind of work through 4 different phases through the broadband planning process. So the first is to think about where you have access now and where you have adoption. And that's really not known. As Mac was saying, that the rural areas are often overrepresented in the federal maps. And the reason for that is they break it into census blocks. And if any house, just one house, has access within a census block, they count the entire block as having access. And all this data is reported by the providers. So there's a couple of factors that really overinflate the amount of coverage. So the first thing we need to do is get an appropriate assessment of where coverage currently exists. And that's what we're hoping to do with Merit. Merit is planning on doing a comprehensive review of access through both publicly available data and through direct survey work to try to understand in a pinpoint location where access starts and where it stops. They also want to look at where speeds or what types of speeds exist as well. So that'll give us a baseline of where we're at in the current environment. The next thing we need to do is establish what our goals for access. And that'll give us kind of that broad futuristic look, and it gives us something to try to achieve. And then we look at the difference between where we're at now and where we want to go, and we come up with a feasibility plan for bridging that gap. And then within that feasibility plan, there will be strategies for moving forward with partners or with the county as taking the lead on building out the network that will work to accomplish the goals. So really it's just those 4 parts. And right now we're just getting started with the first element, and that's the assessment. And that's what we're looking to do through Merit, which was funded by community partners, the cost for that. And the next few steps will be a little easier, but then we're hoping to do the planning work through the task force, and then hopefully the assessment work through another contractor going forward.
Right. Yeah, and the community partners, and I have to say that this has been an easy ask. The Merit study, as you'll see in your quote in your packet, was $39,000, and the funding we got from community partners was very easy to come by. Because if you look at healthcare, if you look at education, if you look at economic development, all of these areas are areas in which you will see better outcomes if you have more ubiquitous access to the internet. And so we really feel that we're in a place right now, in a moment right now, where there's wide recognition of how important this issue is to a community's prosperity and for people's ability to help themselves. I mean, in the modern age, you can't apply for a job without access to the internet. You can't participate in meetings like this without a decent broadband connection, which, you know, holds you back professionally in other ways. And so we really think that this is after looking at what other counties have done and other communities have done, we think we're in a really good place now to move forward. And Lee, want to talk about the creation of a broadband task force?
Yeah, so we really want to target the county as the most appropriate level of government to take this on, because there are pockets within the county itself that are pretty well covered and some that are more sparsely covered. And having it at the county level really helps us address all different types of venues or all different types of access throughout the county. It also has, since it's at a bigger scale, it's a lot easier for the county to bargain with potential providers rather than individual municipalities. And there's an opportunity to work with other counties within our region. So this isn't a problem that's necessarily unique to Calhoun County. The other 3 counties within our region are also struggling with this type of work. So we really want to target the county as the home for this. And then to really guide the work, we want to set up a task force with key stakeholders, some of the folks that have already started doing this work, and then expanding that a little bit to make sure that we catch a lot of the different categories of stakeholders. So someone from healthcare or for workforce development or local businesses, definitely some folks from the educational community. So we'll work on establishing some of the norms and bylaws of that committee offline, and hopefully we'll have something ready for you all at the next meeting.
Yeah. And the only thing I would add to that is, hand in glove with this is that there are more barriers to adoption than simply, your geography or even your income. There are, digital literacy issues. There are, older adults. I mean, I have elderly parents myself, and I know how much challenge of technology is for them. And so working across the community, across sectors with different partners, we can also come up with strategies about how we make sure this technology is accessible and usable by more people. So we really see this as when we started raising the money for this, obviously in our community, a lot of times you go to a funder. We really wanted to talk to community partners to see if we could demonstrate a collective resolve to solve this and understand why it's important to all those sectors that Lee just mentioned. And it's been a very gratifying process so far. I think we've made a lot of ground really fast. And I think, again, we're in a moment where there's just broad recognition of how serious this is. And so we think we can get some stuff done. And we think we can work across county borders and improve the whole region. So I was really excited to meet Lee. I'd never met Lee before we started talking to mutual people about this, and then we got together, and so we've been dreaming big.
The only thing I would add is what Lee mentioned, that this is from a workforce development standpoint and a regional planning priority. This is a priority across our 4 counties. So Branch County is a little bit ahead. They've already done the study that we're asking for your approval to have Merit do. They are actually in the process. They've already done a cost benefit study. So they're a couple steps ahead in Branch County. Kalamazoo County and St. Joseph County are the other 2 in our region. They're actually behind where we are. And so Lee convened a meeting of our county administrators this past week, and they're, willing and interested in some sort of collaboration, especially if that means, streamlining the process of RFPs and getting cost estimates and ultimately, rolling this out with the private providers. So that regional effort, I think, is going to help us, as well as, the focus that you'll hear about more and more from our state and federal government, specifically with funding that has been made available through the new stimulus package.
Okay. So then we have 3 items of action. The first one is going to have a motion to approve the broadband initiative support resolution as presented.
So moved, Betty.
Support, Smith.
Betty and Smith, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher.
yes,
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Can I next have a motion to approve the Merit Network Incorporated membership agreement as presented?
So moved, Tompkins.
Support Betty.
Tompkins and Vetty. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
yes, please.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Next, can I have a motion to approve the Merit Network Incorporated broadband data collection services agreement as presented?
So move Betty.
Support Smith.
Vetty and Smith, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our consent agenda. We have 6 items on the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for tonight's meeting, March 18th, 2021, Board of Commissioners regular session as presented?
So moved Betty.
Support, Tompkins.
Betty and Tompkins, any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Any special committee or workshop or board reports tonight?
Mr. Chair, may I?
Please, Mr.
Thank
Vice
you very
Chair.
much, sir. Thank you. First and foremost, the Senior Millage Allocation Committee met on March 5th. We held our election for the chair and vice chair of the committee. I was certainly humbled and honored to continue to serve in the chair of that committee, as well as Jill Booth serving as, again, as the vice chair. So certainly appreciate that, very humbled by that continued support. We also approved our social isolation strategic plan. This plan was put together by the Social Isolation Subcommittee, where the task was to develop a strategy to address social isolation utilizing senior resources, both at the county and the local levels. That date of implementation of the plan is May 1st, and I'll tell you what a great job by that committee to put together and really deal with not only social isolation issues as it relates to COVID, but also just generally. So we know that social isolation has been something that's happened for many years for our seniors. And ironically enough, as part of this discussion, we found that 43.1% of all seniors in Calhoun County over the age of 60 live alone, which I thought was an interesting number, a very high number. So interesting on that. So we also recommended for approval community actions request for the temporary price increase for transportation through the end of the 2021 year, which we'll see on our agenda this evening. And then also, as we just approved in our consent agenda, we recommended for approval the reappointment of Art Kale, Bob Ling, Jim Powers, and Willie Tabb for the committee. Also, the Calhoun County Solid Waste Management Planning Advisory Committee met on March 17th. We also held the election of chair and vice chair. I was certainly, again, appreciative of being selected as the chair, with Kurt Tribbett as selected as the vice chair. Sarah Kelly provided a departmental report on addressing several items, including current legislation in the House that could certainly have an impact on the makeup of the committee. She also provided an update on the Eagle Grant as it relates to the recycling mobile unit. Announced a hazardous recycling event that will be taking place on May 22nd, an additional one. And then also gave us an update on the usage of the CNC landfill recycling program that we have and where 329 people utilized it in February. And then finally, I also, as part of that meeting, I presented a proposal on illegal dumping and how to combat it based on a January 27th meeting that I had with Sheriff Hinckley, Prosecutor Gilbert, and 4 township officials on the east side. And from that, we developed some short-term solutions and some long-term solutions to address an illegal dumping situation, certainly on the east side of the county, but as we've seen throughout the entire county, the illegal dumping that's costing all of us resources and money. So again, that's just the special committees that I had. Thank you very much, Chair.
Anybody else?
Chair Frisbee.
Go ahead, Commissioner Betty.
Thank you. And I do want to say, so several years ago, I worked with Lee Adams when my father was still alive. And unfortunately, or fortunately, Lee got stuck with me toting my dad around with me to meetings. And he always told me, I really like that kid. He reminds me of your son. So it was nice to see him. And several of you still remember Woody, so he was a treat. Anyways, so on March 11th, the Gogwek Lake board met, and we actually on the 10th, the ice dissolved on the lake, and so it's no longer frozen. And so we scheduled a time frame for the water to be sampled. And then we had a presentation from Tony Groves about our first aquatic vegetation survey that's going to occur in May. And it'll help us to determine the treatment plan for the next 5 years going forward. And then on Monday was the substance use and dispute and the substance use and oh my goodness, why can I not say this? Gary.
Substance use to policy oversight disorder.
I can't say that. Thank you. Anyways, which Commissioner Tompkins has served on, I think, for 4 years, and now has was it only 2? Okay. Well, it felt like 4. And has cycled off. And then Commissioner Hatcher has replaced him. And I was at that meeting, and then Megan Banning was there on behalf of Kelly Scott. And for me, I know Megan's going to, I think, make a report on the money aspect of things. But for me, we had a really great presentation on gambling disorders and what that means and the changes here in Michigan with all of the apps that are now available and how much more accessible that makes it. And that another piece of it was very interesting to me was that apparently most gamblers have 3 or more comorbidities. So it was a very, very interesting piece. And the gentleman that does it is available if anyone would like to schedule him for any meetings. So I appreciate that. Thanks, Chair Frizz.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, Chair.
Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to say it is not an actual board, but I do want to state that I did this past week meet with Krista Stout from the Land Bank, and we talked and worked on some projects that the Land Bank is working on with foundation money that they received from WK to deal with some of the blight and vacant land and I guess you would say urban decay that is happening a lot in District 2. And we are talking about beautification projects and just beautyscape on some of the, and basically that would be just like neighborhood farming or neighborhood gardening, and doing that on some of the streets where in the area there is just vacant lots, or just to suck up that space and make it look better. And it is a great project. And so I did want to take the opportunity to commend the Land Bank on reaching out and doing those grants. It is really going to be, I think it's going to be beneficial to the area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Miller. You're muted.
Yep. On March 17th, last night we met CCIS, and I'm going to welcome on Harmony Dawson and Mike Burkwalt onto the board. Had a lot of things to discuss, especially with the regulations from the state right now. They did postpone the celebrity luncheon at Cornwell's to April, and now we're going to discontinue that because with a half capacity. We don't think it'd be a very good turnout. So we might have some kind of other, something in place of that, maybe at the fairgrounds later on this summer. But so we're planning on having a fair still, hopefully, but there's a lot of things getting canceled up into July right now. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, we have no unfinished business. We have 14 items of new business tonight, and I'll turn it over to Administrator Controller Kelly Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a few updates before the 14 items of new business. I just want to note that a year ago this Saturday was the first identified COVID-19 case in Calhoun County, and I'm just so thankful that we're celebrating that anniversary in a way today with one of our health clinics being held by the health department, where we were able to invite all of our county government employees who hadn't previously had a chance to be vaccinated to start that process today. And also this week that the health department was able to roll out the new system with the new eligibility requirements from the state, so that anyone in Calhoun County who wants to be vaccinated can now sign up. And that will give us a much more streamlined and efficient way to pull from that list and prioritize when there are openings in clinics. And I'm just really hopeful that we will meet the goal of vaccinating more than 70% of Calhoun County residents earlier than planned this fall. So just a huge thank you to our health department. I know Public Health Awareness Week is not until May, but it seems more appropriate, I guess, to me right now to say a big thank you to Eric Pessel and Bridget as his deputy. The health department leadership is not just, working from home in the background. They're actually at the clinics. They are, right there with the frontline workers, and our nursing staff has just been amazing. And thanks to some of our commissioners and all of the volunteers, just a pretty exciting, I think, milestone 1 year later. I also want to mention the Firekeepers Local Revenue Sharing Board met on March 5th. The Marshall City Mayor, Joe Caron, was elected as the new chairperson. Our county commissioners, Derek King and Steve Frisbee, are there on behalf of the county. And right now we're in the process of starting the allocation process for 2021 with the tier 2 specific cost reimbursement applications out this week, and they're due back to the county by April 16th. And then the next meeting is on April 30th. So that process is moving forward with, albeit a 16% less net payment to work with this year. The only other thing that I want to point out is an item that is not in my written update that you'll get, is that I am very much working with our finance office to start to create strategies around the new American Rescue Plan. So the county itself, Calhoun County, is going to receive a direct allocation from U.S. Treasury of $26.5 million. The city of Battle Creek is getting $31 million. In total, with all of our townships, cities, and villages throughout Calhoun County, we are slated to receive $65 million that can be used over the next 3 years for COVID response, for mitigating any economic and health fallout from the pandemic, and also basically, it's not stated in so many words, but basically for revenue loss replacement. There are very few limitations that we've seen so far, which are it can't be used to shore up unfunded pension liabilities. But there's a lot of flexibility built into this county allocation. Again, it's to be spent over 3 years. We will get our first 50% installment within the next month. And I'm starting to accumulate a list from our department heads, elected officials, and others throughout the community who have already brought forth some really good ideas for unmet needs, because the stimulus package also included direct payments for a lot of really important items. So broadband, for example, the state received an allocation that can be used for broadband. The county's allocation lists broadband as an eligible expense, as did, the cities and townships. And so my talking points so far have been, it's very important, but it is not urgent. We want to make sure that we're doing this in a strategic, in a collaborative way with other local governments and nonprofits throughout the county. We definitely will be thankful for the opportunity to not only stabilize the county's budget, which had to be reduced this year because mainly of reduced local revenues because of the pandemic. But we will also look at, from the countywide standpoint, unmet needs, and keep in mind that it's one-time funding. So this is not an opportunity to increase our baseline operating budget and put us in a position that 3 years later, when the funding's gone, then what happens? So for an example, I had a good meeting today with our treasurer, Brian Winsauer, and Deputy Melinda Weaver. They've got some really good ideas about some one-time needs that really do result from economic hardships for individuals and for businesses from the pandemic. So I'm just right now, making a list, and we'll be working on, what the best way to recommend to you as the board for allocation of this funding over the coming months. I just attended a webinar today with the National Association of Counties, NACO, and they are in the process of actually submitting county input to U.S. Treasury. So Treasury is still writing the rules. The guidelines are not out yet, which I'm sure you've heard, but we're not sitting back just waiting for guidelines. We are already starting to start strategy around that funding. And so there's not a timeline yet when we're supposed to get the guidelines, but again, this is a 3-year window of opportunity for not only stabilizing our budget, but putting us in a better position to respond to the needs of our community. And really that's about all the detail that we have right now. So I'm sure you're all getting questions about what is the county doing with the funding, and that would be the response. We're going to be, we have a long-term forecast we're going to rely on. We are going to work with other community partners, and we're going to be diligent about, sticking with our principles of fiscal responsibility and realizing that these two are really taxpayer dollars, and it's not an opportunity to just make government bigger for the sake of using the funding, that we need to make strategic investments that really will have a long-term impact for the overall economy and health of our community. So that will conclude my report. And now,
hang on just a second. I think you probably created some questions.
Okay.
Commissioner Smith has his hand up. Go ahead.
Thank
Yes.
you, Chair, and thank you very much, Kelly. I don't want to put you on the spot, so please feel free to circle back to me. But are you familiar, does this new package, this new batch of money include any hazard pay for public health, public safety folks, similar to what the CARES Act has, or have you heard anything on that front?
Yes, so the guidance that we've received so far does include specifically the allowable spending on hazard pay for essential workers. They don't define public health, public safety, or in any detail, but it does seem to allow for additional compensation for essential workers as one of the allowable items if we so choose to do that.
Thank you. I have a question, and it may not be known yet. If we do not spend it all, is there a spending time frame? If we don't spend it all, must we return it?
Yes, there is a spending time frame, and that is December 31st, 2024. So it's a 3-year deadline. We're receiving 50% up front and then another 50% in a year from now. But there are reporting requirements, and there definitely is the opportunity to not accept all of the funding, and it will need to be reported and justified. So it's, even though we're getting payment up front, it's roughly similar to our FEMA reimbursement and other grant reimbursement process, where you'll have to document the spending in order to justify keeping the funds.
You probably don't have the answer to this question. If we return funds, are they redistributed to other entities?
Steve, we will not return funds.
Well,
So, and the reason I say that is because when I talk about flexibility, I mean real flexibility. If the county, for some reason, decides that our budget is good and there's not any, strategic and fiscally responsible one-time uses, this money is allowed to be passed through or allocated to individuals, businesses, nonprofits, literally any in our community that can help make things better. So it will not be difficult to spend the money. The difficulty will be how to prioritize all of these various unmet needs that are, going to be identified, I think, pretty quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding that? Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, item 12B1 is the Firekeepers Local Revenue Sharing Board Administrative Services Agreement, same as the terms that have been in place since the inception of this board from 2010. It is a $30,000 payment to the county to offset administrative costs and basically the work of myself, Lucy Blair with communications, and Sue Connolly with the administrative services for staffing all of the needs of the FLRSB again for this year.
Okay. I have a motion to approve the Firekeepers Local Revenue Sharing Board Administrative Services Agreement 2021 as presented.
So move. Hatcher.
Support Betty.
Hatcher and Betty, any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
The next two items, 12B2 and 3, come from the road department, essentially related to engineering design. So I want to queue up Christine Parsons, our engineering director, who is prepared to answer questions on these. 12B2 is a design contract award for a signal modernization project at 6.5 Mile in Harper Village, which is in Emmett Township. The request is to replace the traffic signal, some traffic detention and signal control, and then the related pavement, parking, etc. This is funded mostly through a grant that we get through our participation with BCATS that helps with air quality and congestion control. And the grant is $258,000. The recommendation is to award the contract to Manick and Smith. And then that will be, the design itself will be paid for with local funds. It's about $21,000. But again, the actual project is grant funded. And with that, I'll ask for your support, and Christine will answer any questions.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve the CCRD 6.5 Mile Road and Harper Village Drive Signal Modernization Design Contract award as presented?
So moved Betty.
Support Hatcher.
Betty and Hatcher, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
I do want to also just, again, thank the road department, thank Christine and her staff for being so aggressive and assertive in applying for these grants. I know the CMAQ is a competitive grant, and this, without their efforts, a lot of these projects would not happen. So item 12B3 also is an example of the road department trying to leverage state and federal funding to get local work done. This is a request that you support resolutions for 12 bridge structures that need to be improved or replaced. They're prioritized based on the condition and the routes. And so this is through the MDOT local bridge program. And we're required to apply 3 years in advance. So this would be for 2024 funding. If we do get these funds, there's at least a 5% match that will be built in to the road department budget. So you have all 8 of those resolutions attached. They're kind of throughout the county. And with that, I'll ask for your support. And again, Christine will answer any questions.
Can I have a motion to approve the CCRD Bridge Program County Support Resolutions for 12 bridge structures for 2024 funding as presented?
So moved, Tompkins.
Support
Manning.
Hatcher.
Tompkins and Hatcher. Is there any discussion?
I got something, Steve.
Go ahead.
I really appreciate that we have the old 27 bridge over St. Joe River on the list. Is there any way we could talk to MDOT to maybe help us out? That's their only route when there's a accident on 69 to redirect traffic. And then we were trying to get it last year and it didn't go through. Is there any way we could ask for help from MDOT specifically to help out with this? Because this is their only alternate route if there is an accident on 69.
We have asked MDOT to provide a letter of support for all of our bridges on Old 27 that's considered by the Regional Bridge Council, who are the ones who make the determination on funding. There's a regional bridge meeting that happens for the Southwest region that allows decisions to be made based on bridge funding for our region because it's done regionally. So they have provided letters of support for all of our bridges on Old 27 since it uses the alternate route for I-69. Just so you're aware, recently the governor announced a potential bridge bundling program of $300 million that would, if it is approved by the legislature, provide funding to replace something like 60 or 70 bridges, and all at MDOT's cost, or all at, I guess it would be MDOT's cost, that $300 million, we wouldn't have to pay anything. This is one of those bridges on there. If it is approved as it currently stands, we would have actually, they have 5 bridges in Calhoun County that would be included. Now, I don't know if that's actually going to go through the way it stands, but it's the one in Teconcha. There's another one on Old 27 in Teconcha, I believe. And then there's one in Lee Township. Yep. And then they're also looking at one in Emmett Township and possibly one in Sheridan Township. But again, it's completely based on whether or not this gets funded by the legislature. So I don't want to give false hope in saying that that's definitely going to happen, but it is floating out there in a preliminary sense. So they are aware of it.
Thank you. As of right now, so who's liable if that road, if 69 is shut down and they direct traffic over that bridge? I mean, it's like I think a 12-ton or 20-ton bridge, and you're on trucks over that's way over 80,000 pounds. Who's liable if something happens?
Given that it's weight restricted, they wouldn't be able to direct traffic over it right there, given the load restrictions. So they'd have to find an alternate route.
I'm telling you, they do it all the time. Whenever that highway is
I
shut
don't
down.
doubt you. I'm just saying that right now, technically trucks are not allowed to go over it. Now, since we're not out there physically stopping them, I can't say that they never do it, but technically it's not supposed to be, they're not supposed to be directing trucks over there that are heavier than the weight limits.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm just saying if you're a truck and you're in a line and you get directed to go that way, there's not much choice you have. So thank you.
No, I don't doubt that.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, just real quickly, Chair, if I could, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is more of a statement, and I think certainly, our road department's doing whatever they can to put forth these bridge structures for improvement, and they're abiding certainly within the system in which we have. But that this right here in itself points out the utter failure and flaws of Act 51 in terms of how bridges are funded in the state of Michigan in general. And quite frankly, the fact that we have to go on a hope and a prayer and a wish that some of these bridges will be funded in 2024. And some of these, if depending on their condition, if they have to wait beyond 2024, another 3 years, it just shows the utter inadequacy of Act 51. And I certainly wish that the legislature would really begin to take a hard look at this funding flaw that they have within Act 51 in general. So again, I know our road department is doing the best they can within the bounds. It's just sad that we have to come to a point where we're picking and choosing and hoping and wishing on something that we should be taking care of. The legislature should be taking care of the way it should be done. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
So I misspoke. We actually have 3 items. The third one is coming up that relates to road department engineering. This is 12B4, the biennial bridge inspection bid award. Recommendation is to award the bid to Great Lakes Engineering Group. They were the low bidder. The cost is about $35,000, and they're required to follow the national standards for bridge inspection, which is a specialty that our engineers at the road department do not have, and probably wouldn't be an efficient use of our road department budget to employ such a specialized position. Again, as I mentioned before, our engineering staff are working really hard with managing the construction projects, with seeking out and writing these grants, and making the longer term plans for our asset management. So the recommendation is to, as we have in past years, very successfully, every 2 years, contract out this bridge and required bridge inspection services.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the CCRD biennial bridge inspection program award to Great Lakes Engineering Group as presented?
So moved, Fetty.
Support Hatcher.
Betty and Hatcher, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
No.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes, please.
We have 6 yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next we have items 12B5 through 12B11 are all purchasing bid awards coming from our county purchasing office, which essentially is overseen by County Assistant Administrator Brad Wilcox. So I'm actually going to hand off to him to introduce each of these items, and we're going to start with 12B5, which is a road department bid award for culvert materials. So Brad?
Unmute there, sir.
This bid is for culverts, which the road department uses to allow water to flow under roadways. We're recommending for award St. Regis Culverts out of Charlotte, Michigan. It's a 1-year contract. Volume is estimated at 50,000. And as we've seen previously, kind of a scary trend, 23% increase over last year. This is basically the same bid we've been doing for a number of years, but one note is that we only received 1 bid. So we're working with other vendors like Cadillac and Jensen who bid previously and been awarded, and making sure there's no technical encumbrances with our new system to get them to bid. So that's our recommendation is for St. Regis Culverts.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the CCRD culvert bid award as presented?
So moved, Miller.
Support Smith.
Miller and Smith, is there any discussion? I just have one question, Brad. Have we considered extending this bid out since it's on its way out?
Yeah, this is one of the 1-year cycle bids that we do because they're commodity-based products. So we feel like this is one of those, just let it run its natural course and we'll rebid it again next year and correct any defects that we have.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one question too.
Go ahead.
Brad, I go by the Jackson yard there along 94 and it looks like they have like 200 culverts out there. Are we still with them on this type of thing? And do you know why they would have that many unless they're gearing up for some humongous job?
They actually declined this bid for that very reason, that they were overstocked on their basic inventories. So I think they just expected a record year last year in terms of road construction, and some of that followed through and some didn't. That was the explanation I got. So what you see in their yard is the result of or an ordering imbalance, and that's the reason that they didn't participate in this bid with us.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
12B6 is RFB award for 105-21, which is hot mix asphalt. And hot mix asphalt is used primarily to fill potholes around the county. We're recommending for award Lakeland Asphalt, Capital Asphalt, Reith Riley Construction, and Michigan Paving. It's a 1-year contract. Again, the volume is estimated at $600,000. And we're combined with the 4 vendors would be a cumulative 4% decrease over the previous contracts. We're awarding 4 different contractors to be in better alignment with our strategy for how we fill potholes with contractors by spotting concrete or asphalt around the county. It's more efficient that way, and we reduce traveling costs. So that's the reason for the multiple bid awards. So we're recommending Lakeland Asphalt, Capital Asphalt, Reith Riley, and Michigan Paving, a 1-year contract.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve the CCRD hot mix asphalt bid award as presented?
So moved, Tompkins.
Support.
Support, Smith.
Tompkins and Betty, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Number 12B7 is sodium chloride award, RFB 107-21. This is our road salt bid, our annual bid. We use it to winter ice control on our roadways. We're recommending for award Detroit Salt. They're out of Detroit, Michigan. It's a 1-year contract for $3.6 million. That translates to 52,000 ton. And we're expecting next year, based on the previous contract, a 2.2% increase. And this is one of the bids that is a joint bid with Jackson Department of Transportation. It is a transition year for our joint partnership. Jackson's kind of experimenting with the Michigan Association of Counties Purchasing Co-op. So we're comparing notes closely, and when they choose to access that bid platform versus our joint purchasing, we're comparing to see notes to see where we can maintain leverage and how we can keep at least a collaborative strategic alliance going. So I see that happening in the future, but our bidding might change with Jackson over time.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the Calhoun County Road Department sodium chloride bid award as presented?
I'll move Miller.
Support, Smith.
Miller and Smith, is there any discussion?
I got questions.
Go ahead.
I just noticed that the prices for Calhoun was 7104 and 6852, and for Jackson was 7703 and 6852. That $6 difference, is there a reason it should be cheaper for Jackson if they're closer to Detroit than we are? A lot of it's for trucking. Is it the same materials?
It is exactly the same material, comes from the same mine, so that based on trucking, typically we see, because this comes out of Detroit, we're closer to Detroit, Jackson, we get a lower price. Commissioner Miller, I don't have the bid tab in front of me open, but you're reading that Jackson's price was cheaper?
Unless I read it wrong, but it looked to me like one of them, the first bid was 7104 and the other one was 77 for Jackson. I was just curious, maybe I read it wrong or something, but it didn't make any
Yeah, I
sense.
can double check that. I don't think that's the case, but I'll verify that.
Okay, thank you.
I can answer that. I have them in front of me, and the bid for Detroit Salt from Marshall, Battle Creek, and Albion, so for Calhoun County, is the $71. for the Jackson areas, it's at the $68. So it is about $2 less expensive per unit for Jackson than it is for Calhoun.
There was one for 7703 though, wasn't there, for Jackson? I thought I seen it.
No. Oh, yeah. So $77 is what a different vendor, Cargill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when you look at Detroit Salt, you know, which is the recommended bid award, it was $71 for Calhoun, $68 for Jackson. But you are correct that if you look at it, one of the other vendors seem to, so Cargill must be in a different location. And so for that reason, they're farther away from Jackson than they are Calhoun.
Okay, thank you.
Some come out of Toledo, our salt comes out of Detroit mine, and there was even some Morton used to ship off the West Coast. So there are, but that explains it as the trucking.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So this type of item seems like a super intuitive opportunity to really leverage that joint purchasing with our other community road maintenance folks. I'm talking specifically about Battle Creek, anybody else who uses this stuff. I know we're always, in our conversations previously, always open to those type of relationships. Do we know, is there a holdup on something like this specifically that's preventing us from leveraging even more of a purchase with our local cities? Are those discussions ongoing? Can you just get me up to speed on that?
We're certainly open to those discussions. Jackson City is in on this bid, so they've taken advantage of it. I don't know where Battle Creek gets their salt from. I'm guessing it's My Deal. That's where the majority of people in the state of Michigan get their salt, through that agreement. So we watch that closely every year to see what that result is. I can reach out to Battle Creek and see where they're getting their salt. I'm not aware of where they go.
Thanks. It's just one of those things that comes across my mind is we're all using it. We're all using it for the same thing. It might be beneficial to leverage more. And I know you put a lot of effort into trying to make that happen. So I appreciate it, Brad.
Yeah, it's a commodity. It is a perfect opportunity to leverage and consolidate all of our needs. So just out of curiosity, I'll check into it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
So the next item is 12B8. It's material testing RFP number 106-21. This is material testing for roads and bridge projects. So it's typically testing of HMA and concrete for compliance with bid specs. We're recommending for award Soil and Materials Engineering, which is SME. They're out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. This is a 3-year contract valued at $300,000. SME submitted a 0% increase, so they were the previous bid holder of last year. So I think it's a very good sign that they didn't increase their pricing for the next 3 years. So that's certainly advantageous for us. They've been serving the Calhoun County Road Department for over 20 years, so we have a longstanding and positive relation with them. And so on that basis, we're recommending SME for a 3-year contract.
Can I have a motion to approve the CCRD materials testing bid award as presented?
So moved, Tompkins.
Or Betty?
Tompkins and Betty, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Next item, 12B9, is our emulsion award RFP number 108-21. We're recommending Michigan Paving out of Alma, Michigan, and K-Tech Specialty Coatings out of Ashley, Indiana. Our emulsions are used in a variety of road maintenance activities like making our cold patch, seal coating, spray patching. We use a very specified or specialized Durapatcher oil. So we typically go with Michigan Paving. It's proprietary to their process. So we're recommending a split award where Michigan Paving would do the Durapatch oil, but K-Tech Specialty Coatings would do chip seal and fog seal. So we're recommending those two vendors for a 2-year contract valued at $1.4 million. And we expect a 10% savings cumulatively between the two vendors.
Right. Can I have a motion to approve the CCRD asphalt emulsion bid award as presented?
So moved. Smith.
Support Miller.
Smith and Miller, is there any discussion?
So they're willing to lock this in for 2 years with the prices of fuel and everything going up?
Yeah, these are 2-year fixed bid awards.
All right, good job.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
with 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Next item, our number 12B10 is our Parks Architect RFP award. As you're obviously aware, we had a millage pass recently. And with that, we have a lot of assets and resources to make improvements in our parks. So we decided it was a good idea to bring in a landscape architect firm to help us with doing grant applications, assisting us with various projects throughout the park, capital renovations, a number of different projects that require master planning. And we're recommending Professional Engineering Associates, PEA. We received a total of 12 bids. In reviewing those bids, we had a finalist shortlisted for 2 firms. PEA does a number of master plans in a lot of parks throughout the state of Michigan, and they have experience. They worked on the Trail Alliance. They also worked on the Albion Trailhead, and also a couple other parks in Calhoun County, so they're very familiar. So we're recommending them for a 5-year contract on an as-needed basis. So they essentially submit a fee structure to us annually. We accept that fee structure with some negotiations. And then when each special project comes up, we have them quote us based on the hours of effort by the different activities. So we're recommending for a period from March 2021 through December of 2025, PEA Engineering.
Can I have a motion to approve the County Parks Landscape Architect bid award as presented?
So move Miller.
Miller and King. Any discussion? Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, just one question. So with this parks millage came that revenue sharing portion. And I'm curious if a recipient of some amount of revenue, we'll say Homer Village or Albion or something, decides they want to put some money into a project. Is this the type of relationship we have with this architect where we could roll other projects into it that aren't strictly county related to kind of to leverage that relationship we have with them for our smaller communities? Is there anything that prohibits
I think it's
that?
a perfect example of collaborating through a park system. Not only will the architects and engineering be available on an as-needed basis for our parks, but also to help coordinate other park activities in other maybe smaller jurisdictions.
Fantastic. It just comes to mind that, an architect service, might suck up a bunch of that money they're getting right off the top before they actually put a shovel in the ground anywhere. So this is great to know. Thank you very much, Brad.
Yeah, I think having them on retainer, they volunteered us that, a lot of times when you do professional services, you're on the clock the minute you hit the phone or ask a question. They're more apt to come in and consult with you just in preparation of a project versus charging you for all of the hours spent on the project. So I think we get a lot of value in that kind of architectural and engineering work that we can offer to other agencies.
Okay. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty.
Yes.
You have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
The next item is 12B11. It's a mobile medical unit. This is for the health department. It's funded by a grant purchase, so they need a mobile medical unit to do vaccinations and immunizations across the county. So we did a formal bid for them. We received 3 bids, and we're recommending Don Brown's Bus Sales from Johnson, New York, in a total of approximately $149,000. The van should be ready and delivered in late October 2021. So that's our recommendation for award.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the Health Department Mobile Medical Unit bid award as presented?
So moved, Betty.
Support Hatcher.
Betty and Hatcher, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes, please.
You have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Brad. A lot of purchasing items bundled, but I think we're in good shape as a lot of those were seasonal for the road department. So switching back to the road department, the next 2 items are related, and they are the requirement that the Board of Commissioners certify the annual road mileage under Act 51. Before that, we're actually asking for a resolution under item 12B12 to certify some road segments that changes were made during 2020. So our Corporation Counsel, Jim Dyer, was involved in making sure that we're complying with the required form here. But essentially it is adding to what was certified the previous year, 4 segments within Emmett Township for a total of 1/10 of a mile, and then subtracting about 1.4 miles of road segments, one of which relates to Sperry Avenue that we've talked about before, steps towards abandoning that because it relates to entrance to a private property. And the rest of them are all related to park access points. So county-owned parks where the entrance into them had previously been certified through the road department for Act 51 funding. And in reality, our Parks Department and not the road department has been maintaining those, basically the entrances and the parking lots within the county parks. So the resolution just, I guess, formally ratifies actions by the road department to confirm that these changes have been made and that they are included in the next item, which will be to align the Act 51 report with the level of maintenance that's already happening. And so any questions here should be directed to our Corporation Counsel, Jim Dyer.
Can I have a motion to approve the CCRD resolution to certify or decertify certain road segments under Act 51 as presented?
So move, King.
Support Betty.
King and Betty, any questions?
I do have a question.
Commissioner King.
I shouldn't admit this, but I didn't thoroughly read every single bit of this. One of my questions is during the Emmett Township Road project, there were times, like for instance, I think Brandywood Lane stopped about 100 feet short based off the Act 51 report, and it took a little bit of messing around to get that extended to the driveways. There was already curb and gutter. I mean, it was clearly just a administrative thing. Are those now fixed in this, or is that still something we got to go back to? It was overlooked. Do you know, maybe John, if he's on, he can answer that? I don't want to put him on the spot. Maybe he can get back to us. It's not that big a deal, like, it's only a little bit, but I'd like to make sure those things get fixed for in the future.
Any of those segments that were, I'm sorry, any of those segments that were added are being certified. There weren't a lot of distance to them, but yes, they're included.
So Derek, the four that are listed are Candlewood, Charles, Peck Street, and Princeton. I don't see Brandywine, but I think
those are it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
If I could read, would have been a question I didn't need to ask. I'm sorry.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
So just the follow-up, item 12B13 is an item that we have brought to the Board of Commissioners as required by MDOT ever since the county board dissolved the road commission and took over the governance duties. So this is the annual Act 51 road mileage certification. What we've included in the agenda packet are basically just the title pages so that you can see the totals by township. So we list the primary roads and the local roads, and this just needs to be submitted to MDOT by the required deadline, and that's what they use to base our Act 51 funding on.
Can I have a motion to approve the CCRD annual Act 51 road mileage certification as presented?
I'll move Miller.
Miller, and I think someone else was in there.
Support, Smith.
Smith. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Item under new business tonight is 12B14. This is the request that you approve a contract amendment for the senior millage funded air transportation program. Commissioner Tompkins mentioned that the SMAC committee already approved this this past Friday. And our senior services manager, Helen Guzzo, is also on the call to answer questions. Basically, it's a response to the request from Community Action to increase their per unit revenue from the county through the senior millage from $17.25 per one-way ride to $19 per one-way ride for the remainder of this calendar year. And it's to cover funding deficits or losses that they have had just based on the drastically reduced ridership of seniors throughout the county. So having a smaller volume at Community Action has reduced their ability to cover their fixed costs, and they're asking for relief. This should be funded out of the total amount that was already allocated to Community Action for transportation will of course still be underspent just because of the reduced volume. So even increasing the per unit cost will hopefully allow Community Action to get back on track with their budget, and eventually we can continue to encourage seniors to get back to public transportation once it's safe to do so. So of course, Commissioner Tompkins is the chair of that committee and also can hopefully offer support if needed.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the contract amendment for the senior millage funded senior transportation program as presented?
So move Tompkins.
Support Miller.
Tompkins and Miller, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. That was a large list and we appreciate it. Our next item is citizens' time. The same rules apply as during the first citizens' time. Please limit your time to 3 minutes and no negative personal comments. Please mute your TV or computer when calling in, as the background sound will generate feedback. Please note there's an approximately 30-second delay between the live meeting and the YouTube feed. Is there anyone that would like to address their commissioners? Let's see, we have one attendee. That's Julie. Hi, Julie. Is there anybody in the queue?
Nope, none so far, just Julie.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone that would like to address their commissioners? Is there anyone that would like to address their commissioners? All right, we'll move along. Commissioners' time. Anyone tonight?
Commissioner,
I have
Chair Frisbee.
Go ahead, Commissioner Betty.
Sorry. I just wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow is, tomorrow was supposed to be the main opening, the open house of our new Summit Point's First Step Psychiatric Urgent Care Center. But with the COVID and the guidelines and the limitations, it's kind of turned into a 3-day celebration. But our main one is tomorrow between 10 and 3. And if anyone is interested in attending, will you please let me know, and I can make sure that we can get you in within COVID guidelines. But I'm very, very excited about this, and very thankful that we've been able to get this far and get this open. It is a facility that will serve the entire county. It's a no wrong door location for psychiatric urgent care. And it's going to be right downtown. And it's in the location where what I remember it to be was the regional medical lab building on College Street. So some of you will be familiar with that. So this is through Summit Point. Kelly also serves on that board with me, and Richard Lindsay, who is our former county attorney. And then Lucy says, I got a tour today of my First Step. I was really impressed. Let me see, it went away. I was really impressed by the service and the model of the building. It's beautiful. Thanks, Lucy. Appreciate it. Yeah, it looks wonderful. And I hope that it will be well utilized, and I think the location is fabulous. So thank you.
Commissioner King.
I was just going to talk about that. I'm so impressed with the work that Jeannie Goodrich and her team, Megan Taft, who not only is she a friend of my family's, but she is a superstar at Summit Point. She's doing a great job, and I just wanted to make sure this got mentioned. Some of these folks, I'm not saying everyone, but some of these folks put in so much time into making these things great, and it's very stressful for them. And I know her and how stressed she gets about making everything perfect. So I'm looking forward to it. And like Kathy Sue said, if any of you, I everybody got the invite, but if you overlooked it or you want to change your mind and go, let Kathy Sewer respond to Megan. I'm sure they'll make room for you. It's they're doing great things there, and we're only a few years removed from a really bad time at Summit Point, and it's amazing the turnaround. And now with everything that's happening with mental health and you know, the Black Lives Matter movement and police problems, you know, there's no better time than to bringing people together and really addressing the mental health aspect of law enforcement and CIT, and they're doing a great job over there.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Derek. I do, because it all goes hand in hand, you know, trying to, instead of, you know, continually landing people in jail or landing them in the hospital for a limited hours, and then nowhere for them to go and right back out on the street. So this is designed to help create their first steps in a new life for them.
Yeah.
So,
and I would add to that, you know, as somebody who deals a lot with folks that have mental health issues coming in and tying up ERs and ambulances and other healthcare assets, now that they have a place that they can go to and feel comfortable, this is huge. And Derek, you nailed it when you said, you know, we're only a few years away from a really bad time at Summit Point. And I credit Kelly and Richard and Kathy Sue's leadership and Jeannie Goodrich and Megan Taft and many, many others for bringing us out of those depths and adding this into the community. It's phenomenal. So I appreciate it.
thank you, Frizz.
You're welcome. Any other commissioners? All right, we'll move along. I don't see any hands up. So can I have a motion to approve the Calhoun County claims payable for February 26, 2021 through March 11, 2021 in the amount of $2,020,000, $173.94.
So moved. Smith.
Or Miller.
Smith and Miller. That came out a little bit goofy. It's $2,020,173.94. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
You're muted, Susan.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
You have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Any announcements?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Please, Mr. Vice Chair.
Finally starting to get back. Things are starting to certainly get back into some level of normalcy. With that being said, the Albion American Legion pancake brunches are back. Sunday, March 28th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. They'll be serving their wonderful pancakes, the scrambled eggs, and all more. It's a great treat for just $7 for adults and $6 for kids. You know, they've been affected greatly by COVID, as these brunches have been their main source of their income and all the programs that they're able to provide, certainly within the community. So all safety protocols will be in place. It'll be takeout or dine in, obviously with social distancing. And certainly let's help out our veteran organization that does so much for our community and veterans. And then secondly, on April 2nd, the Homer VFW will also be having its Swiss steak dinner this coming month. From 5 to 7, it's $10, but it's a great feast that you certainly can enjoy. And again, this organization serves a lot within the local communities, and it's certainly a great thing. And I just will mention in the March, the very first March dinner that we had just this past month, for the first time, we actually were sold out in a half hour. So kudos certainly to all the local community members and folks that came out to support. They do so much and they don't ask for much. They're just there to support our community and our veterans. And hopefully we can show the same love to Albion American Legion as we did with Homer. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Miller?
Yeah, this should have been Commissioner's time, but I want to send a big thank you to Eric Vessel from the Health Department. I got an email, very, very long and detailed, asking a lot of questions, and I think you were involved in it, Steve, and he got on. I didn't really know how to answer that right away, and I'm really glad that he got on the ball and answered the questions, and she was happy with it afterwards. So I appreciate that, and I want to thank John for. I've been hammering him pretty hard the last couple of days about some things, and I really appreciate your response. And I know he probably cringes when he sees my name on the email, but thank you, John.
I have one announcement, and tomorrow I get my first vaccination, 90 days post-COVID. So what I would like to do is encourage all of you in this meeting and all of our county residents to consider being vaccinated. It's our quickest way out of this mess, and it's safe, and I hope you will consider it. And now that it's open to many, many more, and the new software that we purchased for the health department tonight, it should streamline things considerably. So I know Lucy's over there shaking her head. She's bobbing good. She loves it. And I think that was a great purchase, because that's been a lot of work for the health department, and also Carla Fails. So this will take some work online and make it more streamlined for everybody. So congratulations, and everybody get vaccinated.
Yes.
I was down there this morning again, and the Air National Guard has been filling in, and oh my gosh, they're doing a great job. It's just so nice to have them there, and again, I mean, it's just people are going through like clockwork.
Yep.
I was at Washington Heights. I was at Washington Heights Church today too, and actually, I received my second shot, and while working there with them, and it's just wonderful, the job that the county has done, and they really do deserve the health department, Eric, the nurses, everyone, just the way they handle the public and the questions and just making you feel so comfortable. But it was an excellent experience. So I agree with you, Chair. Everyone should go, and it's somewhat of a relief for you, and that is how we're going to get back out of this. Yep. Agreed.
All right. Any other announcements?
Yeah, I mean, no offense to government people, but government is so good at screwing so much up, and that
yes, we
those
are.
Those clinics are. I mean, I get I'm not kidding you, every day, and I'm not saying we have clinics every day, but every single day somebody comes in my shop or calls me and tells me how awesome those clinics were. I'm not kidding you. I have never ever seen anything like it. So. Yeah, it's great. And yeah.
That's Eric, Bridget, Kevin, Vivian. I mean, that list is long. It's pretty much everybody that works at the health department.
Lauren, Aaron. Yeah, they are
great coordinated effort.
Long, hard hours. And a lot of them have been at the Y Center, and the staff there. Jill Hine, the CEO of the Y, has done a really, really nice job. I know Eric is very thankful for her.
Yep. It's a great facility to host it. Yep. All right. If there's nothing else,